The Senate now has before it for final consideration Senate Concurrent Resolution number 107. The Secretary will read the bill.
In the Senate Concurrent Resolution 107 by State Affairs Committee, a concurrent resolution stating findings of the legislature and authorizing the Legislative Council to appoint...
Madam President.
Senator Guthrie.
Thank you, Madam President. I ask unanimous consent that further reading of SCR 107 be dispensed with, and the journal show has been read at length.
You've heard the unanimous consent request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, it is so ordered.
Madam President, I move the adoption of SCR 107.
Madam President, I second the motion.
It has been moved and seconded that the Senate adopt Senate Concurrent Resolution number 107. Is there debate? Senator Guthrie is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Senators, SCR 107 outlines a request for an interim committee to study driving authorization cards. As you might recall, we requested a study last year, and over the 2020 interim, OPE did just that and provided significant data relative to this issue. You might further recall that Senate Bill 1132 stalled earlier this session, and the general thought process has been that because of complexity of this issue, even further information from other perspectives would be of benefit. And when I say Senate Bill 1132 stalled, that's being very gentle. Now, I'm sure most of you are aware of the scope of this issue, but let me briefly outline why I concur that further study makes sense. To be honest, this is a complex, politically charged issue, and even though we have worked on it for a couple of sessions, more understanding is a good thing if we are to consider a policy decision like this for Idaho in some future session. I'm going to briefly hit a few high points and encourage questions to fill in any gaps you might have. And even though driving authorization cards could be a valid option for both citizens and those here without status, I'll focus on the undocumented demographic, as that is where the angst is. Keep in mind the federal government regulates and enforces immigration policy in the United States, and as such, the states have no control over that policy. Undocumented immigrants have become a necessity, and by necessity, an integral part of our workforce and many Idaho industries such as agriculture, food processing, construction, tourism, hospitality, lodging, retail, and other aspects of our economy depend heavily on that human resource.
Go ahead and talk.
Just for some perspective, for example, over 40% of our ag workforce is comprised of workers here without status. Nationwide, it's closer to 50%. Think about that during your next meal. Senators, that's reality. And as such, many of those that are here are driving without road competency, without legal presence on the road, or insurance. And as such, I believe we have a road safety issue. And in fact, the OPE study sustains that fact. Most of the data from the OPE study was compiled from the 16 other states who have some iteration of a driving authorization card. And one of the key takeaways was an increase in all aspects of road safety. An interim committee will allow for a more detailed in-state discussion that will help in showing the potential benefits to our workforce and road safety. Madam President, debate is open.
Is there further debate?
Madam President.
Senator Vick.
Thank you, Madam President. As was stated earlier, it's hard to debate against people you like and respect. But this is one of those issues where I feel like it needs to be done. I don't understand. In my mind, I can't grasp a reality where we have people who are in this country illegally and we're going to grant them a legal document. I don't know how you can study it to get around that issue. And so I guess I don't see the value of committing these resources and this time to that effort. We are currently being there a great number now of immigrants coming into this country illegally. And I don't know if doing something like this attracts them to this state, but this is not, in my opinion, this is not the path that we want to go down as a state, and I will be opposing this.
Is there further debate?
Madam President.
Senator Rice.
Madam President, this is an issue that's difficult. As a state, we don't get to determine immigration policy. We don't get to enforce immigration laws. We don't get to say whether or not our borders will be protected from people from coming in without authorization under the laws of our nation. We don't get to remove them from our state when they are here. But we do have a situation where they are here in some numbers, and a number of people not here in the United States drive on our roads. And when they do, they aren't always competent drivers, and they make errors, and they collide with our citizens, causing injury. And when they can't get any authorization to drive, they also cannot purchase insurance. Driving can be a hazard to the health of our citizens, and when someone hits them and is not carrying insurance, our citizens sometimes are left without compensation, and they are financially harmed. I think there is substantial problem with having any kind of card or identification issued by the state of Idaho that could be used for purposes that we don't want people engaging in, such as voting or other such activity. But I do think that we need to take a look at mitigating the damage to our citizens from unlicensed drivers who do not carry insurance and frequently flee the scene of accidents in which our citizens are injured. And I think if we can do that, address that in a way that does not create additional problems, that it is worth taking a look at. Again, we don't get the choice of enforcing our nation's immigration laws. We don't. We do get the choice of whether or not we take steps to protect our citizens in spite of failure to enforce our immigration laws at the federal level, in spite of not addressing our immigration in a comprehensive and appropriate way at the federal level. Our Constitution gives them that responsibility and that authority. It prohibits it to us. And so I think that it is worth taking a look at, because it is our obligation to protect the lives and the property of our citizens. Thank you, Madam President.
Is there further debate?
Madam President.
Senator Burgoyne.
Thank you, Madam President. I've had some conversations with some law enforcement officers about this issue, and I can get where those folks are coming from. They would like, when they approach a driver, to have some sort of limited, and as I understand it, this would be limited identification. I had a personal experience several years ago. I was stopped at a stop sign and had occasion to observe something happen in the approaches to an intersection and then in and through the intersection. And the long and the short of all of that was that a police officer was pulling over a vehicle. And the vehicle decided to pull around the corner and stop. And it was obvious it was a very dark street. There was no street light, or if there was a street light, it was out. But you could tell that its headlights were on and its brake lights were on when it stopped. And eventually the brake lights came off, and then the headlights and the tail lights came off. The officer pulled up behind the vehicle. I couldn't see the vehicle except maybe for a faint little bit from the officer's vehicle headlights. And the officer got out of the car and walked up to the car in front. And as he did so, he disappeared into the night. And I said to my wife, there's not enough money in the world to pay me to do that job. And that's what we ask officers to do. And when an officer is approaching someone who has reason to flee or reason to fear because they have nothing to demonstrate to the officer who they are, and even if they are undocumented, to show that they are not trouble, and they can comply and are not incentivized to run or resist, that enhances law enforcement safety and thereby public safety. Now, how does this all end up? I don't know. But as the senator from 28 has so well pointed out, and the senator from 10, I think this is an issue we need to take a look at to enhance public safety, to enhance the safety of our law enforcement personnel in an environment that we as a state don't get to choose. We have to live with the consequences of federal action or, I think regrettably, inaction in this area. And so if this committee can help us improve public safety and can help us improve law enforcement safety, then I think it will be well worthwhile. Thank you, Madam President.
Is there further debate? Senator Bayer.
To debate in favor of the motion or the bill.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I've been communicating with a good friend of mine who used to be in corrections in Southern California. And for many years, she even worked in the jails And we discussed this a couple weeks ago when the original bill was before us on the floor. And you have got to be kidding yourself if you think that an illegal is going to be paying for insurance. They may get it in the very beginning just to get the license, but it'll fall by the wayside. We have citizens who are driving without insurance. What makes us think that an illegal whom we have blessed with the gift of a driver's license is going to purchase insurance? You and I purchase uninsured and underinsured extra insurance on our driving, our motor insurance, our car insurance, to protect us against those situations. And I don't think that giving an illegal a driver's license is going to correct that ought As far as not being able to control what the federal government says or does, I think we ought to start taking a good look at the Constitution and the 10th Amendment and the sovereignty of the state of Idaho. And we ought to start saying what we're going to do and how we're going to live by the directives that come down from the federal government. And it's about time that we start putting our feet down on that. So I will be supporting this bill. Thank you.
Is there further debate?
Madam President.
Senator Zito.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to start by saying when people are in this country illegally, they're in this country illegally. Whether the federal government supports it or not doesn't really have anything to do with it. And if we want to see what will happen when we start welcoming people who are here already illegally, let's just look at what's taking place on our borders. I have a friend who is a former Border Patrol agent, and they sent me a message today about an arrest that was made on the border by some terrorists from Yemen that hasn't been reported in the news. If we want the state of Idaho to look like our border, let's just start welcoming all of this illegal activity and saying that it's okay and extending privileges to these people. We already have a $3.7 billion Medicaid bill. We have our counties and such that are having struggle with their indigent care money and how to fund all of this and take care of all of this stuff. And I'm just really have a struggle to support encouraging this kind of illegal activity and encouraging this kind of stuff in our state. I understand that in some sectors of agriculture we have a labor problem, but I think there are other ways that we can look at this and other ways that we can affect change there, even on a federal level. And I think that as legislators, we should be looking at legal ways that we can handle these situations.
Is there any further debate?
Madam President.
Senator Winder.
Thank you, Madam President. I stand in support of the effort that's been brought to us. We're not voting on a bill. We're not giving any rights. We're not proposing at this time driver's license, and never did, as I understand it. I think this is an issue that impacts our agricultural community, our construction community, our food producing community, and I think it's something that does warrant the study and putting some time into this and seeing if there isn't some type of a solution. I've had lots of constituents say they did this in California and they gave them driver's license and it was a mistake. We're not saying that. We're just trying to figure out what the issue is, figure out if there's some ways to move forward without granting driver's license, without granting rights to Medicare or other things. But we have Idaho citizens that are at risk. They're driving their trucks. They're driving vehicles on our roads. And I think that, to me, warrants it, if nothing else, is to try and figure out how to protect and limit the liability for our Idaho citizens. Thank you.
Is there further debate?
Madam President.
Senator Sousa.
Thank you, Madam President. I understand the concerns about this concept, this issue, and I share those. But I also think we have to be firmly in reality. Idaho is an agriculture center, and I learned that very clearly in my first 2 years when I had to be on the Agriculture Committee. It wasn't my first choice or my second choice, and it's the only one that I could be on for my third choice. And the pro tem at the time, Pro Tem Hill, said to me, "You will learn a lot about Idaho." And I did. I learned that agriculture drives our economy. And let's be realistic. We have a lot of need for human effort and workers in that agriculture community. And we do not have the right as a state to issue visas, work documents or visas for these people on a temporary basis to come into our state and work. So they are illegal. But the reality is our agricultural community would not work without them. So let's keep our own citizens safe and look at this issue and say, we will not give a driver's license to these people, but they're driving trucks. They're driving cars. They're driving for their jobs. And yet they're uninsured and they have no education about our rules of the road, and there's no accountability. But if we were able to give them some form of documentation to say, not that they're citizens, not that they have any voting rights at all, and that's one of my biggest the reasons that I'm most interested in this is I do not want them to be able to use any kind of identification that would allow them to vote. But we can give them we can study this and see if we can come up with an answer that gives them the responsibility to be educated before they drive on our roads and the responsibility that they have to carry insurance. Those are the two things I think that will protect our voting system and our citizens. And I think this is worthy of consideration. All we're doing is asking for a study or an interim committee. Thank you.
Is there further debate?
Madam President.
Senator Burtonshaw.
Because I am the Ag Chairman, I guess I'll address this. But since I've been in the legislature, I've gone down to immigration twice with two different individuals that needed to get their paperwork done to become legal citizens of the United States, and both of them were brought in as children. A third one is a good friend of mine, and he's been here since he was 15 years old, and I said, you've got two children, one on the way, why don't you get legalized? He said, because I went and met with a lawyer, and these are my choices. I go back to Mexico for 10 years and then reapply to come to the United States. Now, what young man that has two children and one on the way wants to go back to Mexico for 10 years? It just doesn't work. He is a contributing citizen, I think, in our community. He pays his taxes. He works. He's honest. And his wife is an American. And yet he's not able to drive on the road legally with a license. What's his choice? Go back to Mexico for 10 years and then reapply. This is a way to identify those type of individuals. We've demonized them. And the vast majority of them are good people that work really hard and are in agriculture jobs that none of you would take. And our industry needs these individuals that come into our state. Now, we have ethnic groups that come in the United States over the years from various countries. We've brought them in from Assyria and other countries, and we have a group just in Ada County. And I'm not saying I agree with all that or that I endorse all that, but in our industry, we have a real need for these workers. This last year, we had a huge windstorm. It dropped one of my big trees across my house. It cost me $50,000 to put a new roof on the house, and I've got a small house. But the workers that come and redid my roof, there are probably 4 of them that didn't speak English. So chances are they were not legal citizens in the United States. But they did a tremendous work. And you know, after that windstorm, it was hard to get anybody to come and help because it was in Utah, Idaho, and Wyoming where the majority of the damage had taken place. And the company that brought these people in was strapped for help to meet all these emergency needs. So we're asking for a study. As the good pro tem said, we're not legalizing anybody. We're asking for a study. What should we do? Now, I had a good friend here a few years ago that I grew up from high school, and we kept really close contact over the years, and he was hit by an unlicensed driver. And he was a citizen, but his license had been revoked because of his DUIs. He had no insurance. The family had no recourse. They took a breadwinner out of a home that made about $150,000 a year, and there was no recourse. we need to step up to this and make it so that these people can be insured. If I have a truck and I have a man sitting in that truck, is there a way for him to get a license and to take a class to prepare him to drive on the road? I think it's a fair assessment. I think it's a fair assessment in our communities. And Idaho has a strong history of agriculture. And today, when I was a kid, my cousins all grew up in Osgood, Idaho. They all moved pipe. But as the years progressed, none of them moved pipe. That was all Hispanic labor. And they have provided and provided and provided. And we continue not to recognize them. I'm not endorsing what's going on the border. I think President Trump had the right idea, a more organized approach. But everyone in this room, great-grandparents or parents, come here from another country. And you're here because of that. Mine immigrated from England and Germany and Prussia. And if you go back, they come from all different places. And I'm grateful that they immigrated here. And I'm a result of that. Not that I'm a good citizen or anything, but being a politician, that might be a drawback. But we've all, if we reach far enough back in our roots, come from a different country. The only ones that were here when we come were the Native Americans. So there has to be a way. We have to look at a way. We have to study the process. We have to provide if we can provide. We're not given citizenship. We don't have that ability to do it. But we can give permission to be on the road safe and under insurance. Thank you.
Is there further debate?
Madam President,
For what purpose does the senator rise?
to debate a second time.
Is there any other senator who wishes to debate for the first time?
Madam President.
Senator Wintrow.
Just briefly, I serve on the Transportation Committee, and I was deeply struck and moved by the senator from 28 and the information he provided, and I felt ignorant. I didn't know it before. And I just want to express my deep appreciation for this debate and for the senator from 35. Is it 35? And I'm just deeply grateful for the humanity of all the people around us that are providing for us, including agriculture industry and the workers there. So I want to thank you, and I hope that we can study this and find some solutions.
Is there further debate? Senator Lodge.
Madam President, just briefly, when I grew up in the summertime, all of us worked in the fields, all the kids. That was our summer jobs. And we'd start as soon as school was out, and the day before school, we'd take that time off to use the money that we had earned working in the fields to buy school clothes. I don't see too many kids today lining up to work in the fields. Taking those summer jobs, picking the cherries, picking the apricots, hoeing the corn and the beets. You don't see that. They're going to camps. They're spending time doing other types of activities. We've lost a generation of teaching our kids what really hard work is about and how important that lesson of learning about hard work is, and earning your own money at a young age, which helps you later on in life as maybe you earn a little bit more. I live out in rural Canyon County in the orchard and vineyards of Idaho. And I can tell you that one of the reasons that I came up with a bill that the good senator sitting next to me helped get passed last year through the body across the rotunda was help trying to get our inmates to be able to work, because I saw the fruit hanging on the trees when it was freezing because they could not get people to work. You can put signs up all over, and our people will not take those jobs. And so these folks are coming in. They are filling these jobs. Most of us like to eat around here. You can see I do. And they are providing the food for our tables. They are driving the vehicles that belong to the farmers. They need to have this opportunity to be insured. They need to also have the further training in driver's training. When we've been in Europe, we've been able to rent a car and drive in Europe, and didn't have to take any other further training. I don't know if some of these have driver's licenses from other countries, but just having the opportunity to listen to what is happening in our state and how this affects our most important industry, well, our greatest industry as a person who works in that, agriculture. We need to have this interim committee to study this issue and maybe open our hearts a little bit more to the problems that our farmers are facing, and also the folks that are coming here who really want to do the right thing and want to help us continue to be a great nation. Help us by doing the labor that some of us won't do anymore. Thank you, Madam President.
Is there any further debate?
Madam President,
Senator Bayer.
to debate a second time.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I need to correct some of my remarks, or a remark. I had a previous testimony in my mind rather than the original presentation, and I just wanted to correct my statement. I will be opposing this resolution. Thank you.
Is there any further debate? Hearing none, Senator Guthrie is recognized to close the debate.
Thank you, Madam President, and I don't think I left anybody out. I want to thank the senators from 2, 10, 16, 21, 23, 24, 35, 19, 11, and 21 for the second time. I'll tell you, I've been kicking around here for a while, and I don't think I've been more humbled by debate on an issue that I carried, because this is exactly the kind of thing that the interim committee will be an extension of. And whether you were for this or against this, this is the kind of discussion that a tough issue needs, and that can help facilitate. So thank you. I'm very appreciative. Just to address a couple of points. The underinsured or uninsured rates with those who have driving authorization cards and regular citizens, as per the OPE study, is relatively the same. Those who don't get insured, it's basically the same number. So they are getting insurance in the other states. I want to stress, this has never been advocated to be a license. It's a driving authorization card. And specifically, the legislation that failed: no voting, no firearms, no proof of residency or anything like that. Road safety. The hit and run accidents and alcohol-related crashes are markedly lower in states that have this. That's a fact. You are in a safer environment. The senator from 20 pointed out very accurately, this is not a policy decision we're having today. This is the request for more information. I mean, if we are open-minded in this and we do have further detailed discussion, maybe the solution looks quite different than what 1132 does. Maybe it looks like a way to insure these folks without doing some kind of licensure. I don't know. I think if we're creative, we can come up with a way to make this so that we do have a safer environment on the road. There's been a lot of support for this, a lot of support for 1132, and this morning food producers voted to support this interim committee request. I'd like to close with a story, and it ties back in with what the senator from 35 and also the senator from 11 talked about. And that's that folks are here doing jobs we won't do. So when I talk about doing 40% of the labor force is undocumented and almost 50 nationwide, that's not just a percentage. They're doing the least desirable jobs. When I left yesterday morning early to come up, I drove up early yesterday morning. We had about 4 inches of snow in Ingham, and it got a little less as I come up. Well, in the Twin Falls area, there's sprinklers going. You know, that's unheard of in our area this early in year, but in Twin Falls, they've got sprinklers going. And I see many hand lines out there in the fields going with frost on them. Well, guess who's moving those? If you want to make a bet with me, I'll bet it's foreign-born labor. Senators, this is just a request for more information so we can maybe arrive at a solution, because when you look at it, this is reality. They are in the country. We do have a federal immigration policy issue that maybe most of us don't like, and this is maybe an opportunity to make the best of the situation we're dealing with. Thank you. I appreciate your support. Madam President, debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall Senate Concurrent Resolution number 107 pass the Senate? According to Rule 39C and contemplating an expenditure of public monies, the Secretary will call the roll.
Eigenbrod, Anthem, Baer, Bayer, Burgoyne, Burtonshaw, Cook, Crabtree, Den Hartog, Grow, Guthrie, Harris, Hyder, Johnson, Lakey, Lee, Lent, Lodge, Martin, Nelson, Nye, Patrick, Robbie, Rice, Ricks, Briggs, Souza, Stennett, Thane, Bick, Wardingle King, Winder, Wintrow, Woodward, Zito, I have 7.
Roll call shows 28 ayes, 7 nays, 0 absent and excused. A majority having voted in the affirmative, Senate Concurrent Resolution number 107 has passed the Senate. Is there a correction to the title? Hearing none, the title is also approved, and Senate Concurrent Resolution number 107 will be transmitted to the House of Representatives.